parents started RUF Automobile in 1939 here in Pfaffenhausen. They bought a banker's villa with a park, and that was in a very good location right at the entrance of Pfaffenhausen at the main street. And they decided to remove the park and change it over to an automobile enterprise. My youth was spent as soon as I could crawl. I was in my dad's garage, and I put my nose in every possible thing. And of course, this was not always easy for my parents because this was also dangerous. And one day, actually, I fell into the waste oil container, and I was rescued. That was my first baptizing, I guess. So this is how it all started. RUF and Porsche started in the year 1963. My father had his own bus. It was a tour bus, and he was driving on a Sunday afternoon, and he was passed by a Porsche 356. And as the car was passing my dad, the driver lost control over the car, and he was going all over the road, and finally he made it to the ditch and rolled over the car 2 times, and my dad stopped and looked after the driver. He was okay, apparently. He had a couple of cuts from the glass, and my father spoke a couple of comforting words to him and brought him to the hospital, had him checked out, and told him, "Don't worry about the car. I will take care of the car. Just look after yourself, and we will speak on the telephone." And a week later, my dad buys the salvage. He bought the broken car that was beat up all over, and he fixed it and brought it back in brand new condition. Of course, I was involved, and my older brother at that time. We were all enthusiastic. This is when the enthusiasm for the Porsche automobile actually started in our company. And we owned the car for a year. My dad drove it and fell in love with the Porsche. That was his actual first experience with a Porsche car. And then one day, something incredible happened. As we were driving in Munich on Leopoldstrasse in one of the main streets, and a young man knocks at the window, asks us to stop the car, and we're stopping, we're talking to this man. And he says, "I want to buy your car." And my dad and this young man, they go to a coffee shop, and we talk, and 1 hour later, the car was sold. We didn't actually take the car home anymore. He bought it on the spot. He had the cash money. And my dad said, "I can't believe it. I never sold a car like that before." And we actually made money, and we had it for a whole year. So this was the best argument for me as a teenager to motivate my dad to continue to do the next project. And this is what happened. And in the 1960s, we continued. We wanted to do another one and another one. We were known as the Porsche specialist that wouldn't fear any type of complicated repair, maintenance, be it in the bodyworks or be it in the mechanical side. It was comprehensive work that we could offer. My first encounter with the Porsche 911 was in 1964 in the early springtime. My dad and I, we were on the Autobahn, and we were on the way to a fair, and I'll never forget that. And here comes this car flying by us. We were probably doing 50 miles per hour, and that car must have been doing at least 100 miles. And water was splashing over our windscreen. The windshield wiper couldn't clean the windscreen anymore. And I heard this sound, this incredible sound of that car. And I just barely saw the Stuttgart license plate. And I said, Dad, this is the new Porsche. This is the new Porsche. I saw that in a magazine, in a car magazine. I have to show it to you when we're back home. And of course, at that time, it must have been a 901 because the name 911 wasn't even out yet. It was a prototype from Stuttgart that was on the way on the Autobahn. It was an incredible experience. And I think that really triggered the passion in me for the 911, definitely. Driving an early 911 is an experience by its own. You drive this car, you feel how light it is, how light-footed. You know, it's 1,000 kilos. Today we're driving 1,600, and the 500 horsepower that we use today feel different to the 130 we drove at that time, because the extra weight, the 60% more weight, is not really compensated by the extra horsepower, because there is no compensation for extra weight. There's nothing better than saving weight in an automobile. So this really is the feel like you are riding on a feather. It's fantastic. It's very difficult to describe. I also describe it as I'm driving my own pants here. And this is the way I feel when I drive this car on the curvy, narrow roads around our neighborhood, because it gives you this feeling of lightness. The 901 was a wonderful project. I found this car probably 20 years ago, and I found it in Auto Trader in the United States by accident. As I was just going through the pages, I saw that there's an early 911 for sale. And I called, I wanted to know more about it, and they told me the chassis number 300037. Then I thought, gosh, if I'm not wrong, this got to be one of the real early series cars. And as I was double checking, sure enough, I found out it was number 37. And not only that, it was a 901. It was a serial production car of the very first production run in late '64. That happened just before the story happened with Porsche and Peugeot. We all know this story. And so I thought, this is a precious car. This is a car that is worthwhile collecting, even though it was in the worst possible condition. It was a big, big rust bucket. I kept it in my storage for all the years, and now in conjunction with another car, with a donor car that we needed just to make one car out of two. It was a major undertaking, but we did it in 8 months, and thanks to Hans Lampert, who really fell in love with this project, we were able to put this car together in such a short time for the 40th anniversary of the 911. Our strength has always been that we offer for any regular Porsche service, maintenance, and repair. And we have a staff that has been with us for decades, so therefore they are competent of understanding and knowing all the early cars as well as the latest cars. And we can offer a comprehensive service for all existing regular Porsches as well. 550 Spider here is a perfect example of a full restoration that we undertook with this car, from the aluminum body to every bit and piece and details. And it's today a real showcase of a car. And it's in very good hands of a collector who loves those early Porsche race cars. The challenge for me is in a restoration that the car must not be over-restored, but everything has to be original and it has to be in a condition like it left the factory assembly line, brand new. And this is what I want to achieve with every restoration. Motorsport was something that had a fascination. Motorsport was something that attracted me. I wanted to go to all the races. Well, those I could actually visit easily from here. And I wouldn't go if there wasn't a Porsche. And my time was the beginning of the 904s, when the 904s were out on the track. Then when the 906 with this fascinating six-cylinder sound came in, and then the 908s. When I look at this car, the 917, that was heaven on earth. The sound of this 12-cylinder engine, this is something so special, it goes under your skin. And the movie Le Mans by Steve McQueen, to me, I knew every sequence. This movie was everything to me at that time, and it still is. And to me, it was very clear, I just had to be part of this dream. I had to be in this world somehow, or one way I had to be there. The charm of racing at that time was when you saw people arriving in a 911, they had the family, they had the baby in the back, and mother and father. Father became a race driver for a couple of hours. The car was jacked up. They put on different wheels, the racing wheels. They put on different exhaust tips, and then they went racing. And afterwards, if they didn't smash the car, they drove it home again. And that was racing of that time. And this was, to me, the charm of racing at that time. This was something very special. And you could do that in a 911. With the continuing growth of the business, we decided in the 1970s, in the late 70s actually, to make a further addition to the existing building that my parents built. And what we did, we found a building, a used building that we disassembled, and we moved it to our premises, and we reconstructed the building completely. And the best part is that our own staff did this whole job. Everybody for a while was a masoneer, a construction worker, a plumber, a tile layer, anything you can imagine. And this building is very attached to us because it's our own building that we built with our own manpower. Our base car is the best sports car in the world, the Porsche 911. So why do you want to make changes to this car? Why do you want to have anybody tinker with this car? It is very simple. There are people out there, they feel the same way as I feel. They're looking for more Porsche. They're looking for more individual satisfaction when they get their car. And we have set all the examples over the years of what could be done more to the Porsche 911, and it has been well accepted. The beginning of that discussion and the triggering for our own success in the Porsche 911 story was definitely at the time in the 70s when the parole was out and it was announced by the factory the 911 will only be built for 2 or 3 more years, and they made the 911 less attractive just by reducing it down to one model, and it was less performance than before. So that was the chance for us to do more with the 911, and we're still doing it today. The 930 BTR, which was a 374 horsepower version of the 930. This was the car that actually broke the speed barrier of 300 kilometers per hour. And we were invited the first time from Road & Track for a high-speed contest in northern Germany. And Phil Hill was driving and Paul Frere was driving, and they ended up with this fantastic speed of 306.4 kilometers per hour. And nobody would have believed that this normal 911 would be the winner against all these super exotic cars. In 1987, we followed another invitation of Road & Track. It was World's Fastest Cars, Volume 2, and we just barely finished our car, which was a complete new development. And at that time, this was definitely the most sophisticated development that we performed from our side. Now, our car was in this yellow color. We were the only ones that had a yellow car, and the photographers loved it, and they gave him a nickname. They called it the Yellowbird, and the car never got rid of that name, Yellowbird. Yellowbird is today a known name for this car. We had a top speed of 211 miles per hour, which was really a sensation. Paul Frere, to me, is one of the most phenomenal drivers and a great engineer. His expertise, everything that he knows from the past, plus he knows what the future is going to be. It's just amazing, and he can connect it all and he can put it together. He's really a walking dictionary. He's a very, very exceptional man.
Die Leute fragen mich immer, wie kann ein 911 so schnell sein und vor allen Dingen auf der Straße bleiben. Aber es war eigentlich kein Problem, das Auto bei der Geschwindigkeit auf der Straße zu halten. Man hat ein bisschen korrigieren müssen, aber es war gar kein großes Problem.
And again, we came home as the winners, which was really a sensation. So this was the story of the CTR, and that was the milestone that put us on the world map. Suddenly, the press people came from any place in the world, and they wanted to know about this car, and they wanted to test it, and they wanted to write a story. And this was the landmark #1 for RUF Automobile.
Was ich bei RUF bewundere und schätze, dass er die Sachen wirklich gründlich macht. Zum Beispiel, das hatte ich noch nie gehört von einem Porsche-Tuner, irgendeinem, und RUF ist ja kein Tuner, er ist ja ein Hersteller, aber dass man für Leistungen wie die vom R-Turbo extra neue Pleuelstangen verwendet, weil angeblich die Serienpleuelstangen nicht für diese Leistung vorgesehen sind. Und alles wird also mit der gleichen Methode und mit der gleichen Akribie geprüft und, wenn nötig, geändert. Unsere Werkstatt ist ein richtiges Beispiel einer Idealwerkstatt.
Hast du einen heiligen Fahrer?
Heute haben wir gekauft.
Was? Ist also nur mein erster Feinder. Ist also schon besser. The world was waiting for a successor of the CTR, and so the CTR2 followed and was definitely a car that had a lot of changes, also in the bodywork and body style. And that was the significant difference to the CTR model that we had before. We suddenly showed some big cosmetic changes. It had a multifunctional rear engine lid that was at the same time the air intake for the intercoolers and for the engine cooling. It was a 520 horsepower version with an integrated roll cage in the body and still a very elegant appearance. The CTR2 is a very much appreciated car today, and we even made a wide-body version, which was the CTR2 Sport. And we have CTR2s, well, basically everywhere in the world. It was also a US approved car. That means we could build that car for the United States market as well. Then the era of the water-cooled Porsches started, and our first one was the 3400S. The 3600S followed. The 3600S is actually a two-seater 911 Roadster because we put the 911 engine into the Boxster chassis. And it made it an ideal sports car with a perfect weight distribution. Our flagship is the R-Turbo that is based on the 996 Turbo. We offer it as a 520, 550, and a 590 horsepower version. It has been tested in Nardo in southern Italy with a top speed of 351 kilometers per hour. This is the fastest a street 911 has ever driven. These pictures show very clearly what happens on the Nürburgring, especially when you are in the Nordschleife. You see the car tilts, the car goes sideways, the car jumps, it's in the air. There's so much stress going to this body that we have decided the best way to resolve this is the IRC, the integrated roll cage. The integrated roll cage really stiffens the chassis significantly. And on top of all, it offers the best possible driver and passenger protection. And the successor is ready to be launched, the 997-based RT12. RT12 stands for the 12th generation of RUF Turbo. It is available as a 530, a 560, and a 650 horsepower version with a 3.8 liter engine. Every motor that we build comes to our dyno room and is being tested in the dynamometer. And we want to make sure that all the functions are there and that the performance figures are correct. At the end, the full car goes on a rolling road, and we make another checkup of all the functions. I have always been fascinated by the Porsche, the reliable and everyday usable sports car. We make a great effort in research and development that our high-performance automobiles are just as reliable and performing that you can go grocery shopping. Recently, one of our cars was here for a 250,000-mile service. This makes a happy owner. It makes me proud as well. My philosophy is car and driver must be like hand in glove. They have to be the perfect team. As a manufacturer of high-performance cars, we feel responsible to offer a special driver's training service. This service starts from the beginners all the way to the advanced drivers to individual coaching that we offer in all kinds of circuits, be it in Germany, in Austria, in the United States, or even in Japan. We are offering this service since 1979. We're also organizing the RUF Tour. Our customers become our friends, and we care about our customers. And they are a group all over the world from any place on the globe, and they all think alike. And at the end, they are a small community. It's like a small clan, and they all feel the same way. And it doesn't matter where we are, which language we speak. At the end, we are one family. My wife, Estonia, she is the coordinator. Her heart is into the RUF Tour, and she puts every detail together, and I think she lives from one tour to another. It keeps her busy for a whole year to make sure that everything will work out all right and that everybody is pleased at the end. Since we had the CTR series cars, the world expects from us to come with a successor. And the automotive world is in a big competition. All the big companies are also bringing supercars. So we had to make a decision to go to this new territory of designing our own chassis. And we're going to have our own silhouette this time. It will be a mid-engine sports car, but a super sports car that can compete with all the other cars that are coming out or those that are out already.